Hello, my name is Kendall Grady and welcome to Holistic Music Pedagogy. Today I am coming to you from Jeju, South Korea, which is why some of my videos have been a little bit delayed because I've had a change in scenery. But today I want to talk about planning our practice time because for myself and many students I see that this can be a challenge, especially when we're working with time management and other priorities that have to be addressing. So Galamian talks about practicing in three ways. He says that there's a building time, an interpreting time, and a performing time. So as we schedule our practice, I'll refer back to when I discussed about benchmarks and objectives in some previous videos. We want to keep that in mind, that there's going to be a building time where we have to build the skills. That might include just playing scales or playing etudes, an interpreting time where we're looking at the musicality of the piece and adding in specific accents or vibrato, and then a performing time, so preparing to perform, practicing towards performance. Now, Flesch describes three ways, and I want to try to read them here. There are three stages along the road of not being able to being able to. The first is a conscious execution of a single movement. So I would describe that as building time, which are triggered by visual symbols, so reading music, not yet knowing and not yet being able to execute without a mental effort. So this is like I'm still learning the notes, I'm still learning the rhythms, and I'm having to make a conscious effort to do so. The next step or stage would be collecting together single motions into complexities or complex motions. I might describe this as when I am doing string crossings and I'm trying to do multiple things with my arm at the same time, right? Maybe this circle, the elbow circle, and the arm circle. Allowing the mechanical execution of them as a consequence of the stimulus. So still, recognizing that there's a mechanical component to what we're doing based off of the stimulus of we're playing or we're hearing music, and knowing the notes without yet being able to play them from memory. So memory, I think, is one of the biggest parts of preparing to perform. In fact, when I perform and when I conduct, I only do it really from memory. I might have the music there when I'm in a orchestra or chamber ensemble, but that's really just for my reference. I've memorized my part and most of my other players' parts as well. And then the final time, performing time, Flesch could describe as a stage where the presence of visual symbols becomes unnecessary, so we've memorized them. The execution of the series of notes and motions becomes automatic, so it's something already ingrained in our system. We don't have to think about each motion. And everything is entirely of a consequence of that inner impulse being able to play from memory. So it feels as if the music is coming out of you organically. And it's during this practice time that I am trying to build these skills, if that makes sense. And I do that in a very specific way. I've talked about SMART goals and I've talked about benchmarks and objectives, but I actually have my own musical table of elements, which I will share. That's a call to action, if you will, in this video. And it describes the many things that actually Dorothy DeLay started this table, and I've added to it. But it describes the many things that we need in order to play a piece well. So I'm just going to give an example with a piece I'm working on now by Gracja Basowicz, which is Polish Caprice. So the first thing she says is notes and rhythms. So I might go through the piece once and make sure that I've got all my notes and my rhythms pretty solid. Very basic without vibrato, trying to get a nice, clean, strong sound. Then she goes into fingerings and bowings. So this is where I might incorporate, what fingerings, what colors do I want in what positions? and what bowings might I experiment with to make a different sound or expression. And then, of course, we have memory and intonation. And if you haven't talked about this before, or heard about this, there is expressive intonation, right? Where we might make a leading tone incredibly high, or a flat note, maybe a flattened third, very flat. So I'm not going to explore that in this little passage here, but you can do that in your music. Then we might go into structure, dynamics, and pacing. So the dynamic here is marked forte. The structure of it, though, to me, there's a faster section later on, which is much more joyous. So to me, this section is quite morose, very sad, melancholy. And the pacing of it, I think, should be a little slower. In fact, it's entitled Andante. You get the idea. Then we go into strokes, adding some vibrato and shifting. Do I want those shifts to be heard, or do I want them to be covered up? And then eventually coordination and articulation. So I'll demonstrate with my vibrato here because I am choosing to do something quite specific, which is less vibrato. Most people want to play this quite luscious, and I think that it's sharing something a little different. So instead of this, I might try something like this. Finally, we go into some more technical elements. So what's happening with our bow grip? What's happening with our left hand position? I've spoken a little bit recently about the pronation. Are we keeping our pronation, or is there something that's causing us to have a little more inconsistency? Also, how's our stance? And I would say, how's something I'm working on is how is my face? It's very difficult to play with a smile on your face, but it actually is helping me relieve stress. So as we go through the piece, or as we're preparing for a performance, you want to be adding some elements of ease into your playing. In fact, Gerald Klickstein, he describes habits of excellence, and these are habits that I try to develop as I'm practicing. One is ease, one is expressiveness, accuracy, rhythmic vitality. So this is the rubato effect, a bit like where's the rhythm going, where can it be delayed a bit. Tone, definitely paying attention to that. Where is our attitude and our attention? So these are two very important things I prepare as I'm performing. Where are the areas that I can focus on, and where are the areas that I can allow my mind to wander? And also, in general, how am I feeling in terms of my attitude? Am I feeling optimistic and happy about sharing, or am I feeling very under pressured and stressed and defeated? So what I'd like to do, once again, is share this table with you so that you can keep track of how you're managing your practice. And the final thing I would add to it is something that I've been working on over time, something that a recent teacher in my master's has described to me, which is balancing the left and the right brain. So sometimes if I'm really focused on my left hand, my right hand will go astray. If I'm really focusing on my right hand, my left hand will go astray. And oftentimes if there's a struggle that I'm having with one hand, if I focus on the other hand, it really helps out. So these are some ideas that I hope that you can bring into your practice, especially as we are preparing to perform. And until next time, keep your hearts light and your chops up. Bye-bye for now.